The station had been quiet for so long that Eli Harper could hear the snow settling. Not falling, settling. It gathered softly along the rails, the wooden platform, the edges of his boots. Christmas Eve had come again, just like it always did. And just like every year since the war and the fire and the long list of things he never spoke about. Eli waited alone. The last train of the night was late. The lantern above the platform flickering as the wind pushed through the valley. He pulled his coat tighter, fingers stiff inside worn gloves, eyes fixed down the track as if staring hard enough might change something. The town behind him was dark. Most families were inside, gathered around tables, fires crackling, children laughing. Eli had once believed that if he waited long enough, something or someone might return to him the way it had left. Tonight he didn't know why he was still here. Habit maybe, or hope, that stubborn thing that refused to die even when it should have. The whistle came faintly, carried on the wind, and his heart reacted before his mind could stop it. The train rolled in slow and heavy, steam breathing into the cold like a living thing. One door opened, then another. A few passengers stepped down, bundled and hurried, avoiding the cold and the silence. Eli told himself not to look too closely. He had done that before. It never ended well. And then she appeared. She stepped down carefully, one hand gripping the rail, the other clutching a small cloth bundle to her chest. She looked out of place, like a moment from another life that had somehow wandered into his. Her coat was thin for the weather, her dress old but clean, her face pale from more than the cold. She hesitated on the platform, eyes searching, uncertain, as if she had arrived somewhere she hadn't fully chosen. Eli felt something tighten in his chest. He didn't move. He had learned the cost of moving first. The conductor called out, the train doors slammed, and just like that, the train pulled away, leaving her standing there alone with him. She noticed him then. Their eyes met, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Snow fell between them like a held breath. Finally, she took a step closer. Is there somewhere warm?" she asked, voice quiet but steady. Eli cleared his throat, surprised it still worked. "Town's that way," he said, gesturing behind him. "Not much open tonight." She nodded, as if she'd expected that answer. "I don't need much," she said, "just a little time." Something in the way she said it, like time itself was. Something she'd been short on made him pause. He looked at the bundle in her arms. "You traveling alone?" Her mouth curved into a small, sad smile. "Not exactly." She loosened the cloth just enough for him to see the sleeping baby inside. Eli hadn't held a baby since before everything went wrong. His breath caught, uninvited. "Christmas isn't a good night to be stranded," he said quietly. She met his gaze without pity, without expectation. "Neither is any other," she replied. And in that moment, standing on a frozen platform, with the past pressing in on him, and the present asking nothing more than warmth, Eli Harper made a choice he hadn't known he was still capable of making. "I've got a place," he said. "It's not much, but it's warm." The way her shoulders eased told him the answer before she spoke. "That's more than enough," she said. Together they walked away from the tracks, neither of them knowing that this Christmas would be the one that finally changed everything. The cabin hadn't heard laughter in years, but it seemed to remember what it was for. Eli set more wood in the stove while she sat near the fire, gently rocking the baby, humming a tune so soft it felt like it belonged to the flames. Shadows danced on the walls, and for the first time in a long while, the silence didn't feel like punishment. Her name was Clara. She told him pieces of her story the way someone offers fragile things, carefully, without forcing them to be taken. She had lost more than she could name, trusted the wrong promises, ridden the train because it was moving and staying still had become unbearable. Eli listened without interrupting because he understood that kind of running. When the baby stirred, he found himself leaning closer, mesmerized by the quiet miracle of breath and warmth and life, continuing despite everything. "He doesn't have much," Clara said softly. "But he has tomorrow." The words hit Eli harder than he expected. Tomorrow had been something he'd stopped planning for. After she fell asleep on the small bed he offered, Eli sat alone by the fire, staring at the stocking still hanging by the mantel, a habit he'd never broken, even when it hurt. Before he could stop himself, he placed it gently beside the baby's bundle. Morning came slowly, pale light spilling through frost-covered windows. Clara woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet baking. Eli stood awkwardly by the table, unsure how to explain why he'd tried so hard. She smiled anyway. They shared breakfast like people who didn't yet know what they were to each other, only that they mattered in this moment. Outside, the snow had softened the world, and inside, something fragile but real had begun to grow. Clara stayed longer than either of them admitted was planned. Days turned into weeks. Eli fixed the roof. Clara planted herbs by the window. The baby learned the sound of Eli's voice and smiled every time he spoke. And slowly, quietly, Christmas stopped being the loneliest day of the year. On the next Christmas Eve, Eli stood at the station again. But this time, Clara stood beside him, the baby bundled between them. The train arrived and left just like before, but Eli no longer waited for ghosts. He had found something better, something real, something that had stepped off a train when he least expected it. And as the snow fell once more, Eli Harper realized that sometimes the greatest gifts don't come wrapped. They arrive asking only for warmth, and they give you back a future.